All right, so today we're diving deep into something I know a lot of parents think about a lot,
Yeah,
healthy eating habits for kids.
absolutely.
We've got some great research here from WebMD on how to establish these habits early on.
Yeah.
And I even found some interesting notes about how to get kids talking about making good food choices.
Hmm.
So get ready to learn some practical strategies to make healthy eating a natural part of family life.
I think you'll be surprised at how small changes can really make a big impact on your kid's lifelong relationship with food.
Okay, so let's unpack that a bit.
Yeah.
Why is it so important to focus on healthy eating, specifically during childhood?
Well, if you think about it, the eating habits kids develop early on, they can have a huge impact on their health, throughout their lives.
Yeah.
And I'm talking everything from weight to their growth, even the risk of chronic diseases later on.
Wow, okay.
It's like building a strong foundation for a house. You
Oh,
want to make sure it's solid right from the start.
that's a great analogy.
Yeah.
It's not just about avoiding picky eaters at the dinner table.
Right.
It's about setting them up for a healthier future.
Exactly. And the good news is you don't have to be a nutrition expert to do this.
Yeah.
WebMD really emphasizes partnering with your child's healthcare provider.
Okay.
They can provide personalized guidance based on your child's specific needs.
Makes sense.
Huh.
So let's get to the practical stuff. What are some effective strategies beyond the usual clean your plate lectures?
Well, one of the most powerful approaches, I think, and one that really stuck with me,
Yeah.
is this idea of guiding choices rather than dictating them.
Okay.
So it's about creating an environment at home that kind of subtly encourages those healthier decisions.
So instead of waging war on junk food, we're talking about strategic stocking of the pantry and fridge.
Exactly. Imagine this.
Yeah.
Your kitchen is full of colorful fruits and veggies, ready-to-eat portions of yogurt,
Yeah.
whole grain snacks, and the less healthy choices,
Yeah.
well, they stay at the store.
Right. So you're basically setting up a healthy eating buffet. By making those nutritious options readily available, you're subtly shifting the environment without it turning into a power struggle.
Right. And it takes the pressure off of meal times because those unhealthy options just aren't as available.
Yeah.
You're not saying no to your child.
Right.
You're just making it easier to choose something nutritious.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's all about setting them up for success without turning mealtime into a battle of wills. Now, WebMD also talks about slowing down and savoring meals.
Mm-hmm.
And they mentioned this 15-minute rule for second helpings.
Oh, yes, the 15-minute rule.
Can you explain that?
It's a fantastic tool. It's
Yeah.
not about manners.
Yeah.
It's about teaching kids to connect with their internal cues for hunger and fullness.
I'm curious, what's the science behind that 15-minute pause?
Well, it takes time for our brains to actually register that we've had enough to eat.
Right.
When we eat too quickly, we often overeat
Right.
because those fullness signals haven't kicked in yet.
Mm-hmm.
So that 15-minute break allows the hormone leptin, which signals fullness, to reach the brain, and that helps kids recognize when they've had enough.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I know I've definitely fallen into the trap of eating too quickly and then feeling overly full afterwards.
Yeah, it happens to all of us.
Yeah.
But if we as adults struggle with this, imagine how much harder it is for kids who are still learning about their bodies,
Yeah. And
their hunger cues.
so slowing down is key.
Yeah.
What else can we do to create a positive mealtime experience?
This is where the magic of family dinners comes in.
Okay.
WebMD emphasizes making mealtimes a positive shared experience.
Right.
A time for connection and enjoyment,
Hmm.
free from pressure or arguments.
I think a lot of parents out there, myself included, might find that a bit idealistic.
Yeah.
How do you create that peaceful haven when you've got picky eaters and after-school meltdowns and everyone's rushing to get to soccer practice?
I hear you. It's definitely not always easy,
Yeah.
but even small steps in that direction can make a difference.
Okay.
Think about it. If kids associate mealtime with stress and tension, it's no wonder they might develop unhealthy eating habits.
Right.
It becomes about escaping the pressure rather than nourishing their bodies.
That's so true. I never thought about it that way.
Yeah.
So if we can shift the focus from eat your vegetables to let's connect and enjoy this time together,
Mm-hmm.
it could change the whole dynamic.
Exactly. And the research backs this up. Studies show that children who regularly eat family meals tend to have healthier eating habits.
Wow.
And they're less likely to be overweight or obese.
That's encouraging. So instead of stressing over every bite, we should be focusing on creating a positive and enjoyable atmosphere.
Exactly. And here's another tip from WebMD that I love. Get the kids involved in the process.
Oh, yeah.
Involving them in meal planning,
Uh,
grocery shopping, even helping with the preparation can make a huge difference.
I love that. It It not only takes some of the pressure off of parents,
Yeah.
but it also gives kids a sense of ownership and pride in what they're eating.
Right. You can tailor their involvement to their age and abilities.
Yeah.
Even young children can help wash fruits and veggies.
Okay.
Older kids can assist with measuring ingredients or chopping vegetables with supervision, of course.
Right.
It's about making them feel like active participants
Yes.
rather than passive recipients.
I can already picture my little ones proudly announcing, "I helped make this salad."
Yeah.
Such a great way to boost their enthusiasm for healthy eating.
Absolutely. And speaking of keeping things fun, let's talk about snack attack strategies.
Oh, yes.
We all know kids love to snack,
Uh-huh.
but those between meal munchies don't have to be a nutritional disaster.
WebMD highlight how planned snacks can actually be part of a healthy diet,
Yeah.
especially when they're packed with nutrients.
Mm-hmm.
And they even offer some snack ideas.
Yes. This is where a little creativity can go a long way.
Yeah.
Think beyond the usual baby carrots and apple slices.
Right.
WebMD suggests things like cut up fruits and veggies with kid-friendly dips like hummus or guacamole,
Okay.
low-fat yogurt parfaits with granola and berries,
Ooh, that sounds good.
even whole grain crackers with cheese or nut butter.
Those are all things that kids would actually enjoy eating. It's about making healthy choices appealing and accessible.
Right.
But what about drinks? We all know kids can be drawn to those sugary beverages.
You're absolutely right. That's why WebMD emphasizes reducing sugary drinks and increasing water intake.
So we're talking about swapping out the soda and juice boxes for good old H2O.
Exactly. And it's not just about cutting calories.
Mm.
It's about promoting overall health.
Mhm.
Overconsumption of sugary drinks has been linked to increased rates of obesity in children.
Wow.
Plus, water is essential for everything from hydration to digestion.
Right.
It's like the unsung hero of a healthy diet.
It really is. But how do you get kids excited about water when they're bombarded with commercials for all those brightly colored sugary drinks?
That's a great question. One strategy WebMD suggests is making water more appealing.
Okay. Wow.
You can try infusing it with slices of fruit cucumbers or even herbs like mint.
Oh, that's a good idea.
It adds a touch of flavor and makes it more visually appealing.
And it's a fun way to get kids involved in creating their own healthy drinks.
Exactly.
I'm definitely going to try that.
Another tip they mention is making water readily available throughout the day.
Okay.
Keep a pitcher of water in the fridge or have reusable water bottles on hand
Yeah.
so kids can easily grab a drink whenever they're thirsty.
Okay, so those are simple yet effective strategies. It's all about creating a hydration-friendly environment.
Yeah.
But what about those times when we're not at home?
Mm-hmm.
What about school lunches or eating at restaurants?
Right.
Those can be tricky.
You're right. Those situations can present more of a challenge. But even then, there are things you can do to encourage healthy choices.
Like what?
For school lunches, you can talk to the school about their menu options
Yeah.
or see if they allow you to pack a lunch from home.
That's a good point.
Hmm.
And when it comes to restaurants, there are usually healthier options available if you know where to look.
Exactly. And this is where involving your kids in the decision-making process can be really helpful.
Oh, okay.
Look at the menu together.
And talk about which options might be the healthiest choices.
So instead of dictating what they have to eat,
Right.
we're empowering them to make informed decisions.
Precisely. It's about guiding them towards healthy choices and giving them the tools to make good decisions even when you're not there to supervise.
I like that. Now, before we move on, our notes suggest starting a conversation with kids about healthy eating. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
It's about shifting the focus from "you should eat this" to "let's talk about why healthy eating is important."
Right. I love that. But how do you approach that conversation in a way that's engaging and not preachy?
Mm-hmm.
You know, kids can tune out pretty quickly if they feel like they're being lectured.
Yeah, you're right. And
Mm.
it's about making it a dialogue, not a lecture.
Mhm.
And remember those open-ended questions we talked about earlier, like
Mhm.
asking them what their favorite fruit is
Oh,
or what kind of vegetable they would invent?
yeah.
Those can be great conversation starters. Yes, I love those. They were fun and engaging. But do you have any other tips for making those conversations flow naturally?
You could try incorporating healthy eating topics into everyday activities.
Okay.
For example, while you're cooking dinner together, you could talk about where different ingredients come from or how they benefit the body.
That's a great idea. It's about learning about nutrition fun and interactive.
Exactly.
Mhm.
You can even turn it into a game.
Oh, like what?
You could challenge your kids to come up with a meal that includes all the colors of the rainbow.
I love that. It's about making healthy eating fun and engaging. But what about those times when kids are bombarded with unhealthy food messages from advertising or their peers? How can we help them navigate those influences?
It's a valid concern. It's important to talk to them about those messages and help them develop a critical eye.
Okay.
You could say something like, that commercial makes that candy bar look really tempting, but remember, it's not a food we eat every day.
Yeah.
It's a treat we enjoy once in a while.
It's about teaching them to make informed choices and not be swayed by every flashy advertisement or peer pressure.
Exactly. It's about empowering them to be mindful consumers and make decisions that align with their health goals. We'll continue this discussion in part 2 of our deep dive,
Right.
where we'll uncover even more practical strategies and tackle those trickier situations that inevitably arise when it comes to kids and food.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Welcome back. So we're continuing our exploration into fostering healthy eating habits for kids.
You know, one thing that really stood out to me from our source material
Yeah.
was the emphasis on mindful eating. And such a buzzword these days, but I'm curious what it actually looks like in practice,
Right.
especially for like families with busy schedules.
That's a great question. Mindful eating is about bringing awareness to the experience of eating.
Okay.
And it's actually surprisingly simple to incorporate into your daily routine.
Okay, so give me some like actionable steps.
Sure.
Oh.
One of the simplest yet most effective things you can do is encourage your kids to eat without distractions. That means turning off the TV, putting away the phones and tablets,
Yeah,
and really focusing on the food that's in front of them.
makes sense. I know I've definitely been guilty of mindless snacking while I'm scrolling through my phone.
Yeah.
I barely even taste what I'm eating.
It's so easy to do. But when we're distracted, we tend to eat more quickly, and we're less likely to notice those signals from our bodies
Right.
that tell us that we're full.
So turning off the screens helps kids tune in to those internal cues that we were talking about earlier.
Right.
It allows them to really like savor their food
Uh-huh.
and recognize when they've had enough.
Exactly. And here's another simple tip. Designate specific areas for eating.
Okay.
So instead of letting kids graze throughout the house, encourage them to sit down at the table
Yeah.
for meals and snacks.
Interesting. So it's not just about what they're eating,
Mhm.
but also where and how they're eating.
Exactly. It's about creating a separation between eating and other activities.
Right.
It helps make those meal times more about like nourishment and connection.
Yeah.
Rather than just something to do while multitasking.
I love that. It's a really subtle shift that can make a big difference in how kids approach food.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of challenges, let's talk about those tricky situations that every parent faces at some point.
Uh-huh.
What about those picky eaters? Or the kids who flat out refuse to eat their veggies?
Ah, picky eaters. A common parenting dilemma.
Yeah.
But remember, it's often a phase.
Okay.
And there are ways to navigate it without turning mealtime into a battleground.
Okay, give me some strategies.
Okay?
I know a lot of parents would love to have some tools for dealing with this.
Sure. One of the most important things is to remain calm and avoid power struggles.
Okay.
Remember that guiding choices principle we discussed earlier?
Yes.
It applies here too.
Yeah.
Instead of forcing a child to eat something they don't like,
Mm-hmm.
try offering a variety of healthy options and let them just use what they want to try.
Mm.
So even if their choices are limited, they still have some sense of autonomy. Exactly. It's about making them feel like they have some control over what they're eating. And here's a pro tip. Sometimes it takes multiple exposures for a child to accept a new food.
Okay.
Don't give up after one try. Keep offering it in different ways without pressure.
So patience is key.
Absolutely. And you can get creative with how you present those foods.
Okay.
For example, if your child refuses to eat broccoli florets,
Right.
try incorporating them into a pasta sauce or a smoothie
Okay.
where the flavor is a little less pronounced.
That's a good idea. Sometimes a little camouflage can go a long way.
Yeah.
What about those times when kids claim they're not hungry at mealtime?
Again, avoid power struggles. It's important to respect their cues,
Hmm.
but you can set some gentle boundaries.
Like what?
For example, you could say, it's okay if you're not hungry now, but dinner will be served again at this time tomorrow, and we'd love for you to join us.
So that strikes a nice balance
Yeah.
between respecting their feelings and establishing a consistent meal routine.
Exactly. And remember, it's normal for kids' appetites to fluctuate. Some days they'll eat like horses.
Right?
Other days they'll barely nibble.
Yeah.
As long as they're growing and developing normally, there's usually no need to worry.
That's reassuring.
Yeah.
It reminds me that we should always consult with our child's healthcare provider if we have any concerns about their weight or eating habits.
Absolutely. They're a valuable resource.
Yeah?
And they can offer reassurance or help address any underlying issues.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. guiding choices, mindful eating, navigating picky eaters.
Mm-hmm.
But before we move on, I want to circle back to this idea of starting conversations about healthy eating with our kids.
Okay.
We touched on it briefly earlier, but I'd love to explore it a bit further.
Sure. Remember those open-ended questions we mentioned?
Yes.
Like asking about their favorite fruits
Yeah,
or what kind of vegetable they would invent?
I loved those. It
Nah.
felt like a fun way to spark a conversation.
Right.
Do you have any other tips for making those conversations feel more natural and engaging?
You could try incorporating healthy eating topics into everyday activities.
Okay.
For example, while you're cooking dinner together,
Yeah.
you could talk about where different ingredients come from or how they benefit the body.
That's a great idea. It's about weaving those lessons into our daily life
Yeah,
rather than making it a separate formal conversation.
exactly. And you can make it fun.
Oh,
For example, you could challenge your kids to come up with a meal that includes all the colors of the rainbow.
I love that. It turns healthy eating into a fun challenge rather than a chore.
Right.
But what about when kids are exposed to less healthy food messages,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's through advertising or even their peers?
Yeah.
How do we help them navigate those influences?
That's a great point. Those external influences can be powerful, but we can equip our kids with the tools to make informed choices.
So what are some practical strategies for doing that?
One approach is to talk to them about those messages and help them develop like a critical eye.
Okay.
For example, you see a commercial for a sugary cereal. You could say something like, wow, that cereal looks really fun and colorful, but it also has a lot of sugar.
Yeah.
Remember, we choose those kinds of cereals as a special treat, not for every day.
So it's about helping them analyze those messages and make conscious choices
Yeah.
rather than just passively absorbing them.
Exactly. You can also talk about peer pressure.
Right.
Let your kids know it's okay to make different choices than their friends.
Mm.
You could say, it's great that your friend enjoys those chips, but maybe you could choose a piece of fruit instead. It's about finding what works best for your body.
It's all about empowering them to be their own health advocates.
Exactly. And remember, this is an ongoing conversation. As your kids grow and develop, their understanding of nutrition will evolve,
Right.
and so will these conversations.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
It's about adapting our approach as they mature
right.
and giving them the tools to make healthy choices throughout their lives.
Exactly. We'll be right back for part 3, where we'll wrap up this deep dive
Right.
and leave you with some final food for thought.
Okay, so we're back. And we've covered a lot of ground in our deep dive into healthy eating for kids, from practical strategies to navigating those tricky situations.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey,
Yeah.
exploring all these different ways we can help our kids develop a healthy relationship with food.
As we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
I want to leave our listeners with a final thought.
Okay.
We've talked about creating a supportive environment,
Right.
modeling healthy choices, and having those open conversations with our kids.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, it really comes down to action,
Absolutely.
taking all these insights
Yeah.
and actually turning them into changes in our daily lives.
You got it.
So I have a question for all of you listening out there.
Okay.
What's one small change you can make today to help your family eat healthier?
That's a powerful question, I think. It really encourages people to move beyond just listening and absorbing information and actually do something.
Exactly. It doesn't have to be this huge, drastic overhaul.
Right.
It could be as simple as swapping out sugary drinks for water,
Yeah.
or adding an extra serving of veggies to dinner, or planning a fun family trip to the farmer's market.
Love it.
Every small step counts. And remember, it's not about perfection.
Right.
It's about making progress and being consistent and creating a positive food environment for your family.
Couldn't agree more.
We've learned so much from WebMD's expert advice, and I hope everyone listening found it as helpful as I have.
Me too. And remember, you are not alone on this journey. There are so many resources available to help you,
Right.
like healthcare providers and registered dietitians.
Yeah, they can offer personalized guidance.
Exactly.
So as we wrap up, I encourage you to embrace those small changes.
Yeah.
Celebrate those victories.
Yeah,
And keep those conversations going.
absolutely. Your future selves and your kids will thank you for it. Until next time.
Happy and healthy eating, everyone.